Quick question. How many of you would be chill with a random stranger walking into your apartment, going through your phone, and leaving with your laptop? Probably none of you. Congratulations, you just emotionally connected with the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is basically your constitutional lock screen. It prevents unreasonable searches and seizure from the government. In other words, the police and other government officials can't just go snooping and grabbing our stuff without a legitimate reason. The text of the Fourth Amendment is complicated and generally written for other lawyers, but the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. Basically, your stuff, your space, your privacy, all is off limits unless officers have probable cause and a warrant. The key idea to the Fourth Amendment is that privacy is not absolute. It's reasonable. And what counts as reasonable is where the fun and also most of the lawsuits begin. Let's get into it. When we are talking about the Fourth Amendment, we have to be clear in terms of what we are talking about. Specifically, what is a search and what is a seizure? And just as importantly, when do officers actually need a warrant? So a search is essentially looking for things, whereas a seizure is taking something into police custody, whether that is evidence or a person who is being detained or is under arrest. A search is when cops invade your space where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy. But not all places that we would think that we have privacy do we actually have privacy. So think of it like this. If you generally expect privacy and society agrees that your expectation makes sense, then the Constitution has your back. Your house, generally high expectation of privacy. Your car, not so much. Lockers in schools, probably not as private as you think. Some spots have what we call a reduced expectation of privacy, where police essentially don't need as much legal justification to search. That would be like your trash. Anytime you throw out a cup, you abandon it, cops can get it. If your trash is in the container on your property, you are good. But as soon as you pull it out to the curb, you've abandoned it, cops can go through it. Same thing in airports. TSA, which at this point is performance art, but regardless, shout out to them. They can check our luggage, go through all of our stuff. Same thing with sending an email on a company server. The law says you've basically shared these spaces with others, so your Fourth Amendment expectations to privacy are not so much. Schools are another place where students have a reduced expectation of privacy. So in public schools, lockers are essentially government storage sheds. Teachers and principals can search your locker without a warrant, but they still need a reason. So they need to be able to have a specific reason as to why they believe a rule or law was violated. It can't just be bad vibes. And the search is limited in its scope to essentially what they're looking for. So, for example, a teacher smells marijuana coming from a student's backpack. Things are getting loud. That gives them reasonable suspicion. They can search the backpack. However, if a teacher just has a bad feeling about a quiet student, that's a hunch. That's not reasonable suspicion. So the teacher and the principal can't search that. However, if you're vaping in a school bathroom and say, you can't search me, Fourth Amendment, congrats, you're wrong and suspended. What matters most is expectation. So again, if society thinks it's reasonable for you to expect privacy, you're protected. If not, officers don't need a warrant.